Hello, everyone, and welcome to the STL Tech Talk podcast. This is special episode number 50. We hope you're ready for a wonderful show that we expect to bring you this week. First up, our guest, the man who is trying to single-handedly change the landscape of how you consume your favorite beer at home, along with his wonderful team, of course. St. Louis native, Steve Young. Thanks for joining us again, Steve. How are you doing? Awesome. I think Steve's got a little bit of a lag.
Sorry for the choppiness. I'm a little lagged right now.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of lag, so there might be a little bit of pause between our questions and Steve's responses. But the show is not complete without the creator of the STLTechTalk app for Windows 8.1, the uncaped crusader, Alejandro Ramirez. How are you tonight, Alejandro?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Big show tonight, and I think Steve just unfortunately popped off. I'm sure he'll be right back. But we definitely have a great show, great interview. We're going to talk with Steve Young from Synek, S-Y-N-E-K, Draft System, about his product, his Kickstarter that he just finished. But first off, I want to give out some special STL Tech Talk podcast shout-outs to Junie Ham from Upside, Brian Felt of the St. Louis Business Journal, and Stuart McMillan. Thank you all for your continued support of the STL Tech Talk podcast and following us and interacting with us today as we had our wonderful Apple News live blog event me and Alejandro did today on the website, STLTechTalk.com. You can always find us on Twitter at STLTechTalk. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Google Plus, obviously, if we're doing a Google Plus hangout. LinkedIn, yes. Find us on LinkedIn. We're pretty much everywhere. Also, make sure to be involved with our community. Push Up Social. Just go to STLTechTalk.com and check at the bottom of our website, and you will see how you can get involved and interact with us on our community. We're looking to build that and continue interacting with people more and more as we get more familiar with it and more people get involved. So we're looking forward to having that. Steve, welcome back.
I'm back. Okay.
Awesome.
Technology failed me.
Yeah, and I think the lag may have actually gone too because you responded to that real fast. Awesome. All right, so we've had you on back in May, so this is not your first appearance with us, and again, we thank you for taking the time out to come back and join us again. Tell us a little bit about what's new with Synek since the last time we spoke back in May.
Yeah, so we closed our Kickstarter campaign in kind of mid-July, and for those of you who don't know how that campaign went, we raised $650,000 about, and what was amazing has been all the kind of behind the scenes stuff going on, the brewers that are interested, the international support, and so we've really just kind of been managing this wave and everything involved in that, but I'll kind of let you ask more questions.
Well, I'll go ahead and ask the next one. I'll let Alejandro ask the one after this. Were you at all surprised at how well your Kickstarter campaign did? And how does it make you feel knowing you now have the most successful St. Louis-based Kickstarter in history?
Yeah, I mean, I expected it to do either really, really well, it kind of hits that tipping point and expands, or, we struggle and it never really catches on and we fail right out the gate. And what was surprising to me is we kind of hit both. The Kickstarter campaign launched and we had only raised $35,000 a week into it. And, that put us on a trajectory of $150,000, which would have been $100,000 short of our goal. So, statistically, I'm a big numbers person, I think, in numbers. Statistically, I think we had a 0.01% chance of hitting our goal based on other projects and their trajectories and everything like that. So right out of the gate was really rough, and I'll talk more about exactly why that kind of hit. We made a short little pivot, and within 48 hours, we had raised $250,000, and it really just kind of took off. And then it settled right in between where I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to kind of settle in between, $1.5 to $2 million, but we raised $650,000, so smack dab in the middle. What was really fascinating was the pivot that we made a week into it was just such a small little bitty pivot. We had originally launched to allow Synek to be a better product for our home brewers. It was a better way that, they never have to clean bottles. They can easily trade their beer. They can dispense their own beer from their kitchen countertop without having to deal with kegerators. But after listening to about the 10,000 messages we had in that week time, it was clear to us that people wanted one thing more than anything, which was just access to beer, access to craft beer, access to their favorite local beer. And so we said, you know what, here's what we're going to do. We obviously can't call all 3,000 breweries in the next 20 days, but we guarantee that by the time we launch, if your favorite brewer isn't on board, we will refund your money plus interest, because we are that confident that the brewers would be in support of what we're doing. It was so cool to see everybody just started tweeting their favorite breweries. And just in the 45 days during the Kickstarter and a little bit after, we had 900 plus breweries basically sign up, basically say, hey, if this works like you say it can, we're on board, we support Synek. And that's really what I believe Kickstarter was about, was not only did the consumers show up and say, hey, we want access to our favorite beer brands, but the brewers did too, and they're like, we're on board with you.
Awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, so as you know, there are a lot of people in St. Louis who are started to work on their ideas, on their new businesses, and I'm really curious about your experience, because it sounds like you started with one path, and kind of halfway through the process, the feedback kind of led you to go to where you needed to be. So for somebody starting from scratch, what will your recommendations overall from using Kickstarter for crowdfunding will be for someone who's just about to start?
I think Steve may be having a little lag issue there. Yeah, I mean, I know with STLTechTalk we've considered.
Yeah, so start.
Okay. Go ahead.
Am I having lag?
A little bit there.
You're good. You're good.
Okay, perfect. Well, so back to the Kickstarter thing. I don't think there's such thing as a failed Kickstarter project. You get a ton of feedback from people regardless of whether you succeed or fail. From the very, very get-go, we've thought about this idea and concept in a completely unique way. A lot of people build a product, and then they come and they say, hey, do you want to buy this, or do you want to buy this? The problem with that is you can't forward weigh your capital investment at the beginning. If you spend all your money building a website or a tangible product, and then, it's that MVP model, and then people don't want it, then it costs money to change it. What I did is, before I even went down the road of Synek, I 50 to 100 grocery stores. I talked to 1,000 plus consumers that were in aisles buying beer. Not as someone with a survey sitting there taking notes. I just talked to them as a human being, and I asked them about their beer purchasing habits and how they thought about beer. And what it did was it really. I tell people this all the time. All Synek is an aggregate of what everybody has told me that they want. And so kind of relate that to Kickstarter. That's what Kickstarter really was. I mean, as I said from the get-go, I was convinced that home brewers were our launch market. We could have launched internationally. We wouldn't have had a chicken and the egg problem of having to get brewers on board too. We could have just sent out all this product, say, fill your own beer in your own bags, and you're good to go. They could have reused their bags. Everybody's happy. But the feedback that we had gotten before was enough, but obviously it wasn't because they didn't buy. And the final reason was just the brands. And so I think anytime you go into a Kickstarter,
and did you?
Go ahead.
And did you get all that feedback like right away, or was there something you did to gather more feedback? How did that happen?
Yeah, the 4 months leading up to the Kickstarter, I had primarily thought, get as many emails as possible, meet as many brewers as possible, talk to as many homebrew clubs as possible, and just get unbiased feedback from everybody you can. When we launched, and people didn't show up, we went back to those brewers and homebrew clubs and say like, hey, what the heck are we doing wrong? Like, you had been telling us that this would be perfect for your homebrew club. Like, how many of your members have shown up, and how many of your craft brew customers have bought? And their feedback was like, hey, well, if you get the craft brewers on board, maybe a lot of our homebrew people will buy it. And it's like, okay, fine. And we'll deal with the chicken and the egg problem, over the next 7 months as we bring the product to the market.
I think that's a common problem that we see in product development, where sometimes I think we assume we know what our users really need, and maybe there is that need to really reach out to them. And I think, based on what you say, that putting it out there for people, they thought, that's great, but why don't you do this other thing with it? And that just took it out there, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting too, not to talk all about Synek, the recent Kickstarter project, the Cooley thing that raised $11 million. Everybody looks at that and says, hey, that's a tremendous success, but not many people know that just a year ago it actually failed. The exact same looking model was released and it only raised $100,000. It fell, I think, $50,000 short of its goal, and they made just one tiny little tweak. The video is almost exactly the same. The product is a little bit different color, a little bit different design, but the one tweak they made was they showed alcohol in the second video. The first video was all about parents and soccer games and putting smoothies in it, and when you think about who their target or core audience is, it's not that group. And so the second they showed margaritas being made and college kids kind of playing around, all of a sudden it just kind of took off.
Exactly.
Because it hit that market.
Awesome. So do you have any tips that you may have learned throughout the whole Kickstarter process you'd like to share with people, that some things that you didn't really realize going into it, that throughout the process you were like, wow, that was that would be awesome if we were to do this again?
Yeah, I think if I were to do it again, the 4 months is great. I might have taken a little bit more time to gather more emails and relationships. I also would have started relationships earlier with media folks. And it's really hard to do that because they get so many emails and they're so bombarded. But if I had one working prototype that I had fully functional, I could afford to send out to one of those media people. If I had going into it one big media blogger behind me, I think it would have been a completely different story. Instead, I had to kind of go back and forth, and finally we got to the size where then it kind of hit fire and went. But I think people underestimate the preparation. Kind of like YouTube videos, people just think, hey, I'll make a YouTube video and it'll go viral. Like, there's a lot of preparation, but there's a lot of ambassadors that need to put it out there in order for it to really hit that viral scale.
Right. So how are things going with Synek since the campaign funded and the whole Kickstarter thing has ended? What's going on now?
Yes, so lot going on behind the scenes. I mean, like I said, we've had breweries reach out to us. I think we're now in 43 different countries.
Awesome.
We're working on primarily three things. Product development. We're getting the consumer product. We already have a fully functional product. We already know it works. We already know all the pieces are perfect. But we need to translate that to, where we can put 1,000 of these things at, a very streamlined pace. So product development is number one. Number two is just human capital. We're talking to anyone and everyone and finding the right team players to bring on. And we've found some rock star people, which we'll be announcing over the next couple of months. And then the third one is what every startup kind of faces, is just managing their financial capital. Yeah, we have the $600,000 from Kickstarter, which is great, but if we want this idea to become a ubiquitous consumer product, we're going to have to take some other money to scale. And so we've lined up some really awesome investors. We haven't taken any funds yet. We don't need to. We're going to get as close as we can to launch or past launch, and then hit a really big funding round, which will be really exciting.
Awesome.
You guys have a
Go ahead.
Do you guys have a deadline? Have you set any type of deadline for a release, or what kind of timeline are you guys looking at?
Yeah, so we had said on the Kickstarter that the product will launch in March, April of 2015. Right now we're on pace, easily on pace to meet that. But we are going to do as much work needed in the meantime, working with the brewers and making sure they really feel comfortable, because ultimately it's their beer going into it, their product, which is the polished, awesome quality beer. So we want to make sure that we have their full support before we launch this on the market. We've already had a ton of support, so we don't expect much pushback. But when the Kickstarter backers or whoever pre-orders our product, when they get it in their hands, they're going to know, like, this has been vetted by 500 plus brewers, and it's ready to kind of take off.
Awesome.
One other thing I did want to, say, I wanted to thank you for, after our last meeting, I had invited you to come down and talk at our JC Homebrewers meeting, and I do appreciate you taking the time to come out that evening and, talking to the Homebrew Club and everything like that. Really do appreciate that.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was asking so much for me to meet a group of really cool guys and drink beer with them.
I know.
That's the beauty of this product. Like, the thing I get excited about is if, when this thing gets to market and when this starts to scale, like, what I love most is just being with people and being around, people who are just like me. Craft brewers by definition, home brewers by definition, they're all entrepreneurs. They're all kind of running with an idea as they have. And so that's what I really look forward to, is doing more of that, going to meet your group and hanging out with more craft brewers and such.
Awesome.
So for people that did not learn about Synek through Kickstarter, and will there be units on the shelves anytime soon, like at your local Schnucks or maybe at a specialty store? And do you have an idea of the price of the units or anything like that you can share?
Yeah, so you can actually pre-order it right now on our website, www.syneksystem.com. And it's the same product that the Kickstarter backers are getting, except the Kickstarter backers will get a lot more perks. They're going to get more bags and some other cool stuff that will unveil to. They don't even know that they're going to get some cool stuff, but we've locked into some agreements.
Awesome.
But it'll be available. What we want to do when we roll out is we're essentially using the brewers as our real retail partners. So you can pick it up from, I won't say all of your local craft brewers, but hopefully the majority of your local craft brewers. And because you're going to be in there anyway, filling up bags and getting already pre-filled bags, it just works. Once we get to a certain level where we have enough dispensers in people's homes, we've already kind of locked into some agreements with really big brewers that have already agreed that they want this thing on retail shelves. So assuming that the launch goes smoothly, it could be 6 to 9 months that we're already moving into the retail front.
Good,
nice.
Good. And still planning on releasing, that whole app idea that we discussed previously, where people could possibly order their favorite stuff or even something new that they've never tried before, just, from their phone or computer or something like that, and have shipped right to their door.
Yeah, and so that's really going to depend. That's a little bit more of a long term, where we'll have to work with the distributors and come up with the really right strategy that kind of works for everybody. What's going to be really cool in the near term is just what brewers are going to do with this product. I've heard literally the crazy ideas where, brewers are going to have, tasting parties, homebrew competitions are going to make you submit your beer through Synek cartridges. I've had a lot of brewers, I would say maybe 200 brewers, say they're only going to put like a limited exclusive lineup of beers in the Synek cartridges. So like if you really want like a exclusive special release beer, like that'll be available. But what interests me is, because we're not, every other technology has been made by a big corporation. They have these really restrictive agreements that really prevent the creativity. We're not doing that. We're saying, hey, pay us this fixed amount of fee per bag. We're going to make a really small margin, and everything else that they want to do, if they can sell a gallon for $100, they keep all that money themselves. And so the things that they're doing on their own is like the coolest things I've ever heard. So there will be a lot on that front. And then the data component will come very, very shortly after, where we'll be able to start analyzing where beer is coming from and how people are utilizing it.
Great. Definitely looking forward to this. I mean, Alejandro, I know you're a connoisseur. You like to sample some beverages from time to time. And I know myself, I do. So I know, again, I'm really looking forward to getting this, being able to put one right over my kitchen cabinet and
awesome.
Just hit it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and some more developments too. You know, it won't just be for beer, and we can talk more about that the next time I'm on the show, but there will be a lot of cool stuff offered through it as we move through the near term.
Awesome. So Alejandro, do you got anything else for Steve?
Yeah, so what about if you want something outside of your local brewers? Like I love the Lambic beer. It's a Belgian beer. I know it's kind of a specialty beer because it's made in a cave, and you know they just let all the fruit kind of brew, and they make this delicious tasting. I know it's kind of a fruity beer, but I really like it. So if somebody's looking for something that is kind of outside of that reach, do you think that will also come at some point where you can cross international barriers and start shipping international?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our cartridge allows for pretty much anything. It's not going to be a question of can our packaging do it, because it can. The question will just be, will the laws allow us to do it? So will brewers and distributors support this? So my answer to you is yes, absolutely. It will come. It just depends on how quick the industry moves with the technology.
Yeah. Well, you have a fantastic product. I'm really looking forward to seeing on our shelf here in the house. So yeah, good.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Good. Thanks, man.
All right. So where can more people get a little bit more information about Synek, and how can they follow you?
Yeah, so we're redesigning our website now. That one was the pre-Kickstarter website that focused on homebrewers. But Synek System, SYNEK System.com. You can kind of check out our unit. You can pre-order it. You can kind of look at some videos, all that other cool stuff. And then if you want to follow us on Twitter, and then you can search us on our page too. But let's just say we're keeping radio silent as much as we can. I really wanted to do this interview, but there will be a lot of really cool announcements coming, probably October, November timeframe.
Awesome. So definitely make sure to go to syneksystem.com and sign up for the newsletter and get it right there in your email. I believe Eric's still sending those out on a regular basis. I know I get probably about 1 or 2 a week, something like that. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff coming down the pipe. So, Steve, can't thank you again enough for joining us again. And best of luck, and we look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Good night, Steve. Bye.
Steve Young, guys. Steve Young. Awesome product. Great guy. Awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't get any more humble than this. It's just so refreshing to talk to people like him, because you kind of always think, people who are doing these businesses they probably don't want to talk to you or share. And I love having Steve, because every time he's here, he's willing to share, and he just talks to the process that he's been through so transparently. I think that even if you're not interested in beer, you being whoever, I think if you have a feather or a fickle of interest in being a businessman, I think you can learn a lot from Steve for sure, because he's really had an interesting journey from not knowing all of the details of what he needed to do to pull this off, to gathering the people around to make it happen. So quite an interesting case study for those of you interested in business making, I think.
Definitely. Before we move into the rest of the show, I wanted to go ahead and give a special thanks to our sponsors, Unidev of unidev.com. If you can dream it, they can build it. Make sure to visit them at unidev.com. That's UNIDEV.com. And also Heartland Realty. visit heartlandhomesrealty.com. And if you are looking to purchase or sell a home, they are the team that you would want to contact in order to do that. Again, visit heartlandhomesrealty.com or give them a call at 636-337-0600. So much thanks for their continued support of the STL Tech Talk podcast. And now let's move into the big news from today. Alejandro and I did a live blog right there on the site of the Apple News, and there was a lot of news that came out today. Alejandro, do you want to go ahead and kick off some of the things that you liked? I mean,
I want to say that the very thing that jumped to everybody's minds today, I just think that Tim Cook took a little bit to break the ice, if you will. I think there was a lot of the shadow of Steve Jobs and the big shoes that were left to be filled. And I think today we finally saw the Tim Cook, we saw himself, we finally saw what he does, what he brings of his own. I just cannot describe it. It's just he looked a lot more relaxed. I think you can finally feel that he's driving Apple. I mean, he had freaking U2 on the show. I think I had not been as excited of a keynote since probably the launch of the iPhone, the original iPhone, and when those swivel iMacs came out, I just remember having this feeling that all of the pieces were coming together. So there is lots we can go thing by thing. I know there were some technical difficulties, but that aside,
some technical difficulties. There was a lot of
that was my biggest dislike today. Other media outlets were complaining about the same problem. They were only able to get things out because they had people on the floor attending the show and blogging live and sending them screenshots and whatnot. But a lot of people who were trying to watch live the video stream, they were getting the same errors in the U.S., outside the U.S., and so forth. But
yeah. Now, I do agree with you about Tim Cook. He did seem a lot more relaxed and, just really excited. I mean, he was almost kind of, so excited he was stumbling a little bit there before announcing the Android watch. You could just tell he was so excited for. I mean,
it wasn't an Android watch. You say the A word.
Yeah. The Apple Watch.
Apple Watch.
Yes, I don't know why I said the Android Watch. It just out of habit, It's weird being. We expected it to be named like iWatch, and they came out with Apple.
Oh, I know. It's what people call a Me Too product. It's not the first to market. The iPhone wasn't the first smartphone either, but it's so people think in terms of those things. So no, you're forgiven.
And it was just fun to sit there and watch him because this was, in my opinion, the Apple Watch is the biggest product that Tim Cook has launched under being control of Apple. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's one thing to continue to advance the iPhone, continue to advance and redesign the iPads and the MacBooks.
The Mac Pro was a big thing, but I think it was just
that's such a niche unit.
Yep, it's a whole different market. But no, I think I agree with you, and I think that he literally achieved the same level of secrecy that was maintained for the iPhone, the original iPhone, because there were lots of mocks of whatnot of, hey, this is the iPhone, but I cannot quote a single source that said, hey, we have the iPhone, the Apple Watch nailed. This is what it's going to be.
Right.
We already knew the iPhone 6.
And there's 3 versions, 2 different sizes, 6 different bands, and all kinds of interesting things.
A lot of configurations or customizations that you can get to it. I don't think people were ready to see this, and so it is big. I think it's just literally an announcement that is kind of one of those that are going to be remembered by people. And I heard a lot of commenters talking about how the way the Apple Watch was introduced is kind of going to set the trend for how new products are, unveiled by other competitors. Because Apple always kind of sets trends in marketing campaigns and also this product development. So just that whole presentation of the Apple Watch, I think that will be interesting to see what other people copy from that delivery. But
Right.
yeah. So what did you like the most about the watch? I mean, since we're picking on that
About the
product.
watch, the whole idea of being able to not have, whenever you get a notification, how they talked about it, it's more subtle, but you'll know about it, but yet everybody else around you won't hear your watch, start buzzing. Like with this
Right.
LGG watch, when it gets a notification, people that are standing around with you will turn their heads. Like,
Oh
so
yeah.
with this Apple Watch being a little bit more subtle for notifications, I think that is very nice. Being able to integrate it with Apple Pay, if I believe that's what they were calling it.
Yeah, the Siri integration to me was the wow. They didn't really talk much about it. At least when they first showed it, it was through those screenshots and videos that they were showing that one of them had Siri, and I think that's big. I have a Pebble, so it's probably not as smart as your Samsung watch, but kind of seconding to what you said, when my Pebble rumbles, everybody can hear it. It's a joke in the office.
Everybody
They call it
knows.
they call it my shock collar. It's like, oh, your wife put a shock collar on you,
That's funny. I like that.
because
That's good.
it's just loud. And so yeah, this is exciting. I think the feature I like the most, honestly, is just that Apple did it again with their user interface design. I think that the navigation, the animations, the transitions from one place to another, that's what make people love their devices. One of the former Apple employees, he's a Stanford professor now. He's the one who delivers the iOS programming courses. He said, I don't know where he got the quote, but he says that in studies, the chemistry that we release when we're looking at an iPhone is, or a smartphone in general, but I guess the iPhone kind of started the trend, but the chemistry that we release when we're looking at our phones, it's similar to that chemistry that is released when people are in love. So it's kind of like technical saying you're in love with your device. And so I think that this Apple Watch has that same, I don't know, like stunning effect on people, because it's just mesmerizing to see those subtle transitions going from one place to another. And it's unique. It's not just an iPod turned into a watch. It's not an iPhone or an iPod Touch turned into a watch. It's its own little device with a very unique personality.
Yeah, the Siri integration and that whole navigation aspect, how you can use that digital crown or digital
Yep, the digital
little
crown.
dial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just twist that and you zoom in and zoom out and push the button and it takes you, push it in and it takes you home to your home screen and
Yep.
customize your watch faces how you want, send messages. I liked how Kevin Lynch during that demo, he just tapped the screen 3 times, and that was a code to the person they sent that notification to that, hey, what do you want to do for lunch? The person on the other end responded back with a question mark that he drew with his finger, and so Kevin drew a fish, for seafood right there with his finger on there. I really like that. It was very fluid. So I mean, a lot of
It really
people
makes it personal, It really makes it personal. It's what you make of it is anything you want, and so I think that's pretty cool.
What do you think about whenever they said that you can send your heartbeat to somebody else, so they could feel kind of like what your heart is doing? I mean, I know it's kind of creepy in a way, but it's just really, as a technology lover, I love being able to see just those little nuances, little perk things like that. That's cool. That's cool.
If I was 15 years old, I would probably think it would be the coolest thing to send to your
Girlfriend or
to your
girl
lovey-dovey. But
yeah.
yeah, I can actually take that also to another context and thinking in terms of healthcare. If you're caring for a loved one and they maybe have some health issues, maybe that's a way to kind of keep track of that, or if you're
or
watching
the doctor's office.
Yeah, if you're watching cholesterol or something, or a heart activity. Hey, did I get my heart activity good enough today to meet my quota of exercising. So
Yeah, for example, if a nurse in your doctor's office sends you a message, hey, we need you to send us, your heart rate at this time, and you can quickly do that. I mean,
yep.
there's going to be some interesting things that comes
Mm-hmm.
out of this technology just once the developer kit gets into more developers' hands.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how thick it's going to be, because the screenshots and the it's never the same when you see something online. Even no matter how good the picture, you kind of have to see it and feel it. My take is it looks a little thick. I'm hoping it's not too thick, but it looks kind of chunky.
Yeah, I think if it's as thick as the LG G Watch that I've got on right now, I'd be happy with it. Or if it's about as thick as, say, a Fitbit Flex, I'd be comfortable with
Okay.
that.
So the Pebble is a little bit thick too. It doesn't bother me as much. So if it's something around that too,
Yeah, if it's
yeah, it's probably fine.
would be okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
The one thing that spoke. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, just go ahead, and I'll put mine out there towards the end.
I was gonna tell you the only one thing that did spook me was the price. Starts at 345 buckaroos.
Yeah.
And I started reading already online with my friends on Facebook that the gold watch, they're probably gonna run like around a grand, like $1,000
Yeah,
for like
and
a.
that's the watch edition, I believe they call
Yep.
that. I mean, 18 karat gold.
Yep.
Yeah, you're gonna be you're gonna pay for that. I mean, you're already paying the Apple premium by
Yep.
most Android Wear devices are 240, 249 and below until you start getting into some of these more fancier ones.
Oh
So
yeah.
349, yeah, that's high. I know that's got a lot of people going, oh my gosh, but these things are gonna sell like hotcakes. My two
Yeah.
biggest things,
Yep.
I wish they would have a little bit more firm time frame, just instead of sometime early in 2015, and also if they would have talked a little bit about expected battery life. I'm sure it's still got some more testing that it's got to go through, but
Well, I think honestly, it's probably good, because for me as a developer, it gives me time to tinker with the SDK and potentially target apps. Because for the longest time, we've been waiting for an Apple TV update for a different Apple TV device, not necessarily just a newer version of the one that is out there, but potentially to develop apps for Apple TV. So people have been waiting with their, fingernails out, like, oh yeah, this is the next gold rush. So this was a complete surprise. I mean, this is something that is a lot more functional. And so this and the widgets on macOS Yosemite are going to be two new areas for developers to explore. And the fact that we have between now and January is actually great, because, well, for one, lets you prepare your apps, test them well, and then when the device comes out, which is just probably right after Christmas or springtime, well, at least there will be plenty of opportunity to get your apps out there and be one of the first and start monetizing on that. So
yeah, and we all know Apple wanted to have this out before Christmas for the holiday shopping season. So for them to just say early 2015, either one, it's still trying to get the production model down so they can do this in mass production, or two, they're just, hey, we want to make sure this thing is right. We're not worried about that. They know it's going to sell regardless. We know it's going to sell regardless.
Yeah, because the biggest rumor was that there were delays on the bigger iPhone because of the Sapphire display, and so maybe the rumor of the delays was because of the watch. Maybe there is something specific. Maybe they're making it a lot more durable, or a separate Sapphire.
It has that Sapphire display, so, but it also mentions something about a flex display, so maybe it's going to be a little flexible. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Excited to get my hands on one whenever we get a chance.
Yep.
So if there's
I was also surprised to see that there's two sizes, that you can get a kind of a lady size, if you will, or a smaller half size.
That was the first thing that popped in my mind. It's like they're catering towards the women and the men, because I believe Phil Nickinson had mentioned once recently on their last Android Central podcast the fact that he keeps showing his wife all these new Android Wear devices that are coming out, and she's like, nope, nope, nope. And the only one she'll kind of like even lean toward is, I believe, the Pebble Steel. So, which the Pebble Steel.
And that's still kind of a manly watch. It's still kind of square and big, but
yes, yeah, and the Pebble Steel is a beautiful device. Yeah, you got these Moto 360s and the LG GR getting ready to come out, which looks absolutely beautiful. The new Gear S, I believe, what Samsung called it. We talked about it recently.
Yeah, but it's still, if you put it on a woman's wrist versus a man's wrist, I think they still think of them as the Apple Casio calculator watch. It's like, yeah, nice, too nerdy, too geeky. Yeah.
I mean, I'll admit I don't have gigantic wrists either, so I'm not saying I'm dainty or nothing, but.
Now, look, here's my watch.
Yeah.
It's a Swatch. It's old. It's several years old, but it's a really skinny one, and so yeah, I'm curious to see the sizes of those Apple Watches. I think, yeah, but anyway, so the big cheese this day is the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6 too. I know the leaks have made it really hard to be shocked and pleased with surprises. I think we pretty much knew what it was going to look like. We knew the sizes. Even I think it was Phil Schiller was joking about people knowing already, like, yeah, but you don't know what it looks like, right? Because they know that all of those leaks are out there. I think even back when Steve Jobs was alive, he used to like make mock of Mac rumors and put like applerumors.com, like pretend you go to this website. He knew that people were trying really hard. So in any case, I'm glad that both sizes are going to be available at the same time. I'm glad that there is no wait for the two, because heck, I don't know which one I want. You know,
if it's up to me, the iPhone 6 Plus, that would be the one I'm spoiled by these big displays like my 1520 and then the ones on the Notes, the LG G2, G3, these 5+ inch displays.
Yep.
I can't use a smaller display. I mean, 4.7's not bad. It's a little bit traditional 4.5, so a little bit just a hair bigger. But looking at the renders and the images, doing a comparison on Apple.com, you can definitely see.
So I got something for you, and I think everybody will enjoy it. So this is an iPod Touch, which is roughly the size of the iPhone 4S.
Correct.
It is a cardboard cutout of the iPhone 6, not the 6 Plus, the 6. So
that's a big.
It's kind of. Now, here's the Lumia 1520 for comparison. So here's the iPhone 6. It's roughly about the size of the MTC One and the Nexus 5, just a little bit wider than the Nexus 5. But here's the big shocker. Here is the Lumia 1520. Here's my cardboard cutout of the 6 Plus. Roughly the same size.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of difference there.
It's maybe slightly not as wide and tall, but just by like a bit of an inch. And I hope you can kind of see it, but that's kind of my cardboard.
You showing us the landscape there?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you can see my icons that I drew in there, but
yeah, see your little blank icons. That's good. That's
No,
that's very interesting. Putting that in perspective. I know there's been some people talking about online the fact that they're not going to have a use for an iPad Mini any longer. Just
exactly.
If they go with the 6 Plus, it finally gives them that bigger display. They can just strictly stick with an iPad Air, for example, if they really need that big screen.
Yeah, I told my wife tonight I have to sell my iPhone and my iPad Mini so that I can get an iPhone 6 Plus.
And pre-orders start on that, on the 12th? So just
on the 12th?
Just a couple days?
Yep, exactly. Or you can just go and stand in line on the 19th, which is when they go on sale.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
pricing on that
Yeah.
is expensive. We'll just simply say that.
Yeah, I think they start so you can still buy the iPhone 6 on the traditional 1632. Is that right? 1632 64, or did they go 32 64?
Let me double check. Yeah, it looks like right now, based on Apple.com. If you go to store.apple.com,
Oh, that's right. They already updated the website.
yeah, it looks like 16, 64, and 128. So there is, according to this, there is no 32. Now this is Apple's own website. That's through
Oh yeah.
AT&T. You have your AT&T, Sprint, Verizon. Contract free is T-Mobile. They offer it contract free for $649 for the 16 gig, 749, 64, and 128 gig storage for $849.
Yep, and 3 colors: silver, gold, and space gray.
Correct. Yeah, same three colors from previous iPhone 5S. Outright, it looks like if you buy off contract, the 16 gig iPhone 6 Plus is going to be $749. 64 is $849, and the 128 gig is $949. So
Right.
just under $1,000 for a phone.
Yes, it's interesting. It's interesting that they skip the 32 gig because for the 6 Plus, $299 for the 16 gig, $399 for the 64, and $499 for the 128 gig. So that, to me, that kind of breaks the barrier of the iPad Mini. It's like, So that's going to be interesting to see what that does to iPad sales. And maybe we will see the rumor new iPad size that I think is trying to compete with the Surface Pro. I think there's talks about an iPad 12-inch or something like that. But
yeah, well, I mean, now with this iPhone 6 Plus, it kind of makes you think they need to get that iPad more into the Surface, to where it is more kind of a nice laptop alternative, not necessarily a laptop replacement, but it's a nice alternative if you want to carry something light and not really be a heavy, user. That would be right up people's alleys.
Yeah, the other thing they said that was interesting for the development community is that on these new sizes, there's no coding needed or the need to add additional images as of now. So an app that runs today on iOS 7 should scale up to the new screen sizes. I can't really tell you a lot about the iOS 8 beta because it's still under non-disclosure agreement, but I will suggest for any developers, and you guys probably already know this, it doesn't hurt to test your app under iOS 8, which, by the way, has already reached the GSM, the gold build that has already been seeded to developers, which means that they have reached the final candidate. And I heard that they're going to release it officially on the 17th, ahead of the launch. So iOS 8 is going to be ready for massive consumption very, very soon.
Yeah, just in a few days, I believe.
And
iOS, and here's what really struck me about iOS 8 is the fact that they said it was going to be able to run on the iPhone 4S. I'm sorry, Apple, but no, you should not do that, because you should have never put iOS 7 on the 4S, because it made the iPhone 4S run terrible. I know, I tried it. That was unfortunately my first experience with my own personal iPhone, and it was horrible. It was laggy and slow. I love the notifications, but oh God. Real quick, Nate in the Q&A, thank you, Nathan, asked, what is the thickness comparison between the 1520 and the 6 Plus? So I went ahead and pulled those statistics up. The iPhone 6 Plus thickness is 7.1 millimeters. The thickness of the Lumia 1520 is 8.7 millimeters.
Oh, wow.
So the 1520 is 1.6 millimeters thicker. Width-wise, The
It's
width-wise,
as thick as this cardboard, basically.
there you go. Yeah. The width of the Lumia 1520 is 85.4 millimeters, and the width of the iPhone 6 Plus is 77.8. So it's
Yeah,
a
so
little bit
seems like I missed it
smaller.
just for a little bit. But yeah, I noticed that when I was making the cuts that it is not as wide as the Lumia, and the 6 is not as wide as it's actually wider than the Nexus 5. If anybody has any Nexuses laying around, or HTC 8s, M8,
Yeah.
what's it called? Yeah, M8.
And here's the kicker. The other important measurement is the height of the device. The Lumia 1520, which we know it has a 6-inch display, is 162.8 millimeters tall. The iPhone 6 Plus, 158.1, so only 4.7 millimeters taller is the iPhone or the Lumia 1520. So yeah, it's approaching that size. It is a big device. For Apple, this is huge, literally. Not
Yeah,
just
I saw some people already from news outlets. They already have some demo units, and they were showing some of the iPhone 6 Pluses. It looks big. I mean, you were used to the iPhones being like this, hello, hello,
the
hello,
little bitty things.
little tiny device, and so this is big.
I can
I
probably
don't think Apple. What's that?
I can probably actually type on this.
Yeah, I also really like how the keyboard on landscape. It's always been so restrictive because you only have about this much left to see. So now with those two wider screens, I think finally we get, at least for people developing apps, you can now target more landscape apps because you have a little bit more space, so it's a lot more usable. You don't have to just build portrait apps. You can take advantage of the space. So that, I think that was one of my favorite things. Just like you said, the ability to do typing, holding it like a little mini tablet.
Yeah, and and again with iOS 8, I mean that opens up for third-party keyboards. So things like SwiftKey, Swipe itself, being able to do like a word flow, trace typing. I mean, once they do that, I don't know, man. It's definitely got my
Tempting.
interest. I mean, it's got my interest. Not mainly, probably not as a daily, but definitely something I'm going to take a look at, and I'm sure we'll buy one just because we're going to have to try it out. And Apple's pretty strict on what they give out to smaller companies like ours right now. But
well, I know you'll be happy to take one down for the team. So yeah, go suffer and get one.
oh yeah. So and I'm gonna go ahead and call it now. If you want to get an iPhone 6 Plus quick, you're gonna have to get a pre-order because you're not gonna just be able to walk into the store, I don't think, on the 19th and just pick one up because you're gonna be fighting with all the people that want to buy just to resell the thing for double.
A ton of people have been waiting. They have jump shipped to other platforms because they wanted a bigger iPhone. They wanted a bigger iPhone. We expected to have a bigger iPhones when the 5 came out. We had the 5, and then we had to endure the 5S without bigger size. So if today's internet lag wasn't a sign that a lot of people are paying attention to this device, I don't know what else to tell you. There are going to be a lot of people in line, so pre-order if you can scramble the cash for the next 4 days, or go there really early. I'm just happy that St. Louis, compared to other cities, you can still kind of find devices. There's, I don't know what it is. Maybe other places have a different geek population. When I used to live in Seattle, everything sold out so quickly that it was months before you can get anything else. And even when things came back, you still go to the stores and spend another 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon just waiting to go inside the Apple store.
Right.
But I think, like I said, there are a lot of people who were waiting for a device like this, and so yeah, I will expect that they will sell out just very, very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, if you want one, pre-order. Plain and
Yep.
simple. Just some other things I wanted to talk about real quick for St. Louis related news. 'Cause I know we are the STL Tech Talk podcast where we cover St. Louis technology news, and we covered a lot of Apple. Just because it was the biggest story of the day, the biggest story really of that's going to be probably coming out this week. Real quick, I mentioned him at the beginning during the podcast shout outs. Junie Ham. He's at JUNEY on Twitter. He's the co-founder and president at Upside Advisor, which is a St. Louis and San Francisco based company. There's a St. Louis office down at T-Rex. Brad Urani, friend of the show and just really, really good guy, showed us around T-Rex. He works for Upside. And he kind of mentioned this a month or so ago whenever we talked with him down at T-Rex. Junie Ham has moved his family from San Francisco to St. Louis to continue building Upside here in St. Louis. So Upside just relocated to a fourth floor office in T-Rex, so they were in a smaller room. Now they're in a much bigger office. Junie has moved in. He just arrived yesterday, I believe. So what I would love to do, everybody that listens to this, make sure to send him a welcome via Twitter to @Junie. That's @JUNE, and let him know you heard about his move here to St. Louis on the STL Tech Talk podcast. Do a hashtag STL Tech. That way we can kind of track that and just all that. Give him a nice warm St. Louis welcome, so he gets reaffirmed his belief that he did the right thing by moving his family here, making that jump. Because moving an entire family from one big city like San Francisco to a smaller city like St. Louis, that's a big cultural adjustment for them. So definitely.
I'm just excited to hear so many people moving from the East Coast and the West Coast. I think for those of you St. Louis natives, you should be really proud, because I think St. Louis as a technology or as a place for technologies is really taking off. I think that we are just looking at the tip of the iceberg. I think there is just a lot more to come. I could swear that it's just going to be sooner than later, just as big and important as talking about the Silicon Valley or the Silicon Alley on the other side, or Raleigh-Durham, the triangle. So welcome to the city, guys, and also best of luck to Junie and the family. That's right.
So let's move into the app picks of the week. Alejandro, do you have an app pick for this week?
I sure do. Let me see if I can show it to. Yeah. So I'm like many of you, probably a night crawler. I work late. I code. I'm doing this, that, the other, play video games, and so every time I try to get back to the room and sneak back without waking up everybody, I need to get a flashlight. So I found this really cool app for my Windows phone. It's called the Brightest Flashlight, and let me just make the icon a little bigger here so you can see it. It's a little bit bright here, but so anyway, let me actually show you the app in action. It's from Tiny Smile. It's this big, huge button. All you do is just push the button and boom, there's your light. It has an SOS button. So if you're trapped in the panic room or something, you can send an SOS signal.
Yeah. That's if anybody even knows what to interpret the SOS signal.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure I would know.
If I start flashing, I will imagine something is wrong, but that's about it. So,
right.
Again, the name of the app is Brightest Flashlight, and it's free. There's no advertisement, and I just thank the developer because it just works great.
Awesome. So is that free, like you said?
Yep, free on the Windows Phone Store.
Okay.
Got it here on my Lumia 1520.
Good one, good one. You know, sometimes it can be tough finding a good flashlight app that that is simple enough and not has a nice design to it, so it doesn't look ugly. So that one looked good.
The iPhone has it now on the command center, so if you just slide down the iPhone where you can turn on Wi-Fi and everything, now it has the ability to turn it on. So they kind of killed that whole apps market last year when they released iOS 7
for flashlight apps.
But it's not yet it's not native yet on Windows or Android. You still have to download apps to do that on Android and Windows. At least on the stock KitKat 4.4, there's no native app that does that. Maybe your
CyanogenMods and stuff like that.
Yeah, if you get one of those, because I think the CyanogenMod has one that comes installed with it. But yeah, but it's not kind of part of the OS. It's still kind of a separate applet, if you will. Right. Oh, I can't believe I said applet. That's so old.
Okay. All right. So my app pick of the week, we're coming up on the fall season here in St. Louis. The leaves are getting ready to start turning. The weather's going to start getting cool. A lot of people want to take train rides to whether they want to go to Chicago or go out west to Kansas City, to see the leaves changing and stuff. Nice, relaxing. Just a quick little family trip, a few hours over to KC. So my app pick is for Amtrak. It's available on Windows Phone, iOS, and Android. It's free to download. You can browse schedules. You can purchase your tickets through the app. I mean, it's works well. It's pretty much looks similar across all devices. It's free again. So Amtrak, A-M-T-R-A-K. If you want to take your family for a train ride or just want to get away from the day just whether you want to get some riding done or just hang out with some friends, stop off in Herman maybe.
I had a weird dream once. I dreamed that Six Flags bought Amtrak because Amtrak was almost going to bankruptcy, and instead of just going on boring flat train rides, you will go to your destination. Hey,
that reminds me. Have you seen? I don't know if it was a YouTube video or if it was just a commercial where it showed these kids that are doing all this welding and they're trying to hurry, and all of a sudden they kind of like run off to the side, and this train comes barreling through, and it does a loop. Kind of like what you just said.
Oh no!
This freight train or passenger train just does this loop, just exactly like what you just said.
Nice.
It's hilarious.
I'll have to check it out. No, I have not seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. All right, so I guess the last thing that I wanted to say is also thanks to our friend Katie Negus at AT&T. She has given us a mini jam box by Jawbone, as you can see here. We got a blue one. Let me flip that around.
Nice.
Right there. We've got a pair of these. We're actually doing some reviews on this. I'm testing out the pairing for the stereo. You pair two of them together and get kind of a stereo effect. So I'm trying that out. We've got a blue one and a red one. We're going to be doing a giveaway for at least one. We're definitely going to give away one soon. We're going to do that within the next 2 weeks. But what I'm going to need from you is, all you listeners, is to check STLTechTalk.com, and within the next couple days we're going to run this contest until, let me look back at the calendar, until September 23rd. That is a Tuesday. So 2 weeks from today, which today's Tuesday the 9th, look for details on STLTechTalk.com on how you can enter to win a mini jam box by Jawbone with an approximate retail value of right around $120. So definitely special thanks to Katie and AT&T for this opportunity. And we have a few more giveaways lined up for you in the future. We also have the Tech Informist show. This is a new show that covers general tech. Tomorrow our guest is John Samnez from SimpleProgrammer.com. Really great guy. We've been trying to make sure we get him scheduled on a show, and we finally got a set time. We're going to be talking with him soon. So make sure to be on the lookout for the Tech Informist podcast. It's still not populating in a lot of the app stores. For some reason, I've submitted the RSS feed to everybody like iTunes and Microsoft and Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. Stitcher Radio and TuneIn Radio already have it. You search for the Tech Informist, it comes up right away. So I'm going to have to double check why the other one's not showing up just yet. But otherwise, go to thetechinformist.com, and you can watch or listen to our episodes there. Our first episode, our guest was Mary Jo Foley last week. Outstanding interview, probably one of JJ's best, and he's done a lot of good ones. And it was an awesome show. Definitely make sure you guys check that out. We also have Codecast by STLTechTalk, recording on Wednesday evenings. Tomorrow evening we have Miguel Castro, who was our very first guest on Codecast, making a return appearance. So,
yeah, it's the .NET guy, right? The .NET dude.
The .NET dude, yes, Miguel.
That's
you
right.
never know what he's going to say. He's always entertaining and informative. So, if you want to learn something, you want to be entertained, Miguel Castro is the guy that can do it for you. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he's huge on what's that site that does the training? Pluralsight.
Pluralsight,
Right.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, he's
John
got
Simon
quite a
is also
few courses there, and yeah, they're just really, really smart people, very savvy in technology. So you can't miss it.
Yes, definitely not. So again, this was episode 50. Technically, I guess you would say episode 52 because we've had a few .5 special episodes mixed in there too. But no, it's been a great run so far. Looking forward to keeping it going. If you're in St. Louis and you've got an app, if you're an app developer in St. Louis, or you have a St. Louis tech guest that you would like us to talk to, email us, stltechtalk@stltechtalk.com or podcast@stltechtalk.com, or visit us over on stltechtalk.com and use the Push-Up Social community at the bottom of the site. We're looking to grow that community. It's a great service. Dan Lohman and the team at Push-Up Social join up. Gosh, I can't think. I'm sure I'm going to be leaving something out. Special thanks to everybody. You can follow me at Kevin Harvell. You can follow Alejandro at. Go ahead.
Alejandro RMZ.
RMZ.
If you have any questions about Apple products, your Apple devices, your Apple computer, anything Mac, reach out to me. I also know quite a bit about Windows. I was first a Windows guy before I was a Mac guy, but I've been writing a lot of how-to articles. If there's something you guys would like to see in the articles, a tutorial or whatnot, please reach me out again at Alejandro RMZ on Twitter, and I'll be happy to.
Yeah. And in Apple tradition, one more thing.
Oh,
If you go to stltechtalk.com/calendar, you can see a very comprehensive list of technology events, meetup groups, things going on here in St. Louis. This Saturday, I believe, from 4 to 5, 4 to 6, something like that, I will be down at Pixel Pop downtown. It's a little one-day gaming convention for a few hours, so come on out, say hi. We're going to be there, and we've got Strange Loop coming up, I believe, on September 25th. We got, that's Startup Voodoo. I always get those confused. Strange Loop is the week before, 17th, 18th, and 19th. So, yes, busy month, everybody.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Seems like the heat is gone, and now we can get back to, or get out of under our rocks, right?
Yeah, the temperature heat has left, but the business heat is picking up. Doing this full time now,
right.
Having a lot of fun. But no, we want to keep meeting people and helping promote other great St. Louis stories like Steve Young from Synek System. So definitely, if you got a product or you got an application, or if you got a company that you would like to talk to us about, that you think would benefit from some of our audience, let us know. Contact us.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on the show. So just ping any of us, JJ, Kevin, or yours truly.
Yes. So everybody, thank you. Steve Young, thank you again for joining us. Alejandro, thank you for co-hosting while JJ is downtown covering another event, St. Louis, Start St. Louis, I believe it is tonight. There's always
Start
something
Louis.
going on.
Yep.
Start Louis, yes.
Yep.
There's always something going on. Again,
That's right.
STLTechTalk.com/calendar, and you can find out all the good stuff going on in St. Louis. So thank you to everybody, and we thank you all for listening. As JJ would say if he was here, stay frosty. We're out.